Welcome to the morning show. It's Leonard Duncan here with Joe Tolle. Hey, Joe, we got to do a little housekeeping here, brother. We need to thank Elka Suspension for always being there for us. They build some amazing shocks, whether you're riding an ATV, a UTV, and any of the other machines that they build them for. But right now in the ATV industry, they're killing it. They're winning everything. It's unbelievable how great these shocks are at this given point in the industry. I know that you've used them on some of your stories, and we use them in my other job all the time. So they're great products. GBC Tires, always there to help the industry. They sponsor a lot of riders, including ATV-TALK, helping us bring out all the shows that we can for you guys. And, just the content, GBC is there. Plus, you need truck tires, got them. I got them. You need ATV tires, they got them. You need UTV tires, they got them. So check out GBC as soon as you can. And Joe, I also know that you use them in some of your stuff. So these are great people that really care about the sport, and that's why we're affiliated. You could say good morning now.
Good morning now.
It's kind of a somber show, and there's some things that are going on in the industry that I know you and I have barely talked about, and it's a little upsetting.
Morning now.
What's going on, and we need to address it. The long-standing Dakar rally that's been going on. I don't remember the exact start date, but I think it was in the 50s when it started, when they went from Paris to Dakar. Well, the organization, after 30 years, has dropped ATVs from their lineup, and I'm a little blown away by this. I don't even know exactly how to reach out to them and find out who to talk to, where to talk to, or even if they would talk to us, to give us an explanation of how they could do this. It says in their press release something about safety, and I just think that's a dirty lie, because the ATVs weren't the issue on the safety side. But I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, or feel about it a little, so that we can elaborate on our conversation.
Just there's not enough information to really sit here and say whether it's crap or not. I've heard of people dying in Dakar. I haven't heard of anyone dying on an ATV in Dakar. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened. And I don't know. It's very difficult to say why they did it. It's just funny that they say they want to focus on safety, and they're like, let's focus on safety. Get rid of ATVs. I don't know if it's more symbolic of something. It's unfortunate. What more can you say? I know ATV enthusiasts look forward to it every year. I know Yamaha likes getting the wins every year with the Raptor. But they're not the only ones out there doing it. Like you told me, there's guys out there that race 700 XX. CF Moto has been racing there, so they're using it to prove their machines out and use them for use that race for R&D. I guess I don't care about the car next year.
MX Beans blames Toyota.
With that, I don't know why, but sure.
Yeah, I don't understand either. But hey, explain, MX Beans, what's going on? Why would you blame Toyota? Safety, really, in all the years that I've followed it, the ATVs have been fairly safe. I don't believe. I'm not telling you for sure, but I don't believe that there's been a death in the ATV division. It's usually in the motorcycle, and every once in a while in the car ranks. Last year, I know they had 30 entries and they cut it to 10. Why would you do that? It makes zero sense. The ATVs are not the straggler when they're coming in. There's motorcycle people that are just riding it to ride. that are straggling in every day. There's cars that are straggling in. So, your ATVs were a good group and very competitive. So I don't understand their thinking, unless they're backwards, like most people, thinking that the ATV is not safe and shouldn't be out there. It's just same thing. We deal with the motorcycle crowd here that doesn't like the ATVs because for whatever reason, they get a bad name. Thank you 60 Minutes and 2020, for tarnishing our reputation forever.
Yeah. Well, go Baja.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you know what? We have Score and we have Legacy and we still have Best in the Desert. We should promote all these and get them larger and get the entries back up for them. And to race a Baja 1000, I don't think you've ever done that, have you, Joe?
No, that's not on my bucket list.
Really?
Yeah.
I've chased a few, and they're it's a wow. It's a tough race.
I'll stick to occasional motocrosses if I decide to go back to racing at all.
Okay. All right.
It's more within my budget and skill set.
Yeah, another person in the chat didn't realize. Yeah, they cut 20 entries out of the 24 Dakar rally, and one of our U.S. riders wasn't able to ride because they cut him out. Make ATV flat track and TT great again. It's difficult, the support in the TT. I've been trying to get TT riders on and track promoters. We're trying to work that out to get them to come out and talk with us, so we can do pre-race reports and race reports to get more people, involved in the circle of TT racing. I think it's an art form. I really do. I enjoyed it when I got to do it, and it takes a level of setup that your race car drivers or your race car teams understand, because if that machine's not getting traction, it doesn't drift through the turns right, and you're not going to win because your setup's off. Motocross, your setup can be slightly off and you can still win. Same with off-road and desert. I don't think that there's very many guys can make a TT bike work when they've set it up wrong. So,
and I think one problem that TT has, and one problem I just think that ATV racing has, is how do you get it in front of the crowd? GNCC does a pretty good job because they put it out live, but that's still, you're sort of playing to your pre-existing audience, because people find it that are looking for it. If it's not, I guess they do it on TV still, but it's not live. It's not, right after the event. So I know Works and Needed, they are doing race coverage of their racing, but they're doing it on their own YouTube channels. It's like, I looked at Works the other day because we'd like to have more racing on our channel. We have around 80,000 subscribers. We're heading pretty quickly for that. And we'd like to have more racing on our channel. And it's like, oh, hey guys, we have 80,000 ATV fans on our channel. Let's have some racing on here. But everybody wants to start their own channel. Everybody wants to be the guy. Everybody wants, which I guess I sort of get it for the individual guy who wants to be a quote unquote influencer. But if you look at mountain bikes, there's a great example, because that's where I do a hobby thing. A lot of the racing organizations in mountain bikes, their race coverage comes on like Vital MTB or GMBN. These are big, huge mountain bike channels that have, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And it makes sense that if you're going to promote your racing, you want to get your race series in front of the largest audience that you can, which it would be either get it on TV live or get it on a big YouTube channel that's pre-existing that has lots of followers. But, it's sort of like racing. It's monkey see, monkey do. And people are just like, I'll start my own channel. So, Works right now, I'm not picking on them because I think Works is cool. But if you want to grow your series, well, you've got a channel now that has 5,000 followers, and that's divided amongst dirt bikes, ATVs, this, and that, and the other. I frankly,
I don't think their network gets enough reach. They needed to share it, but they kind of pushed the other media people out so that they could do their own thing, thinking that they were going to grow on their own. At least that's my take on it. I don't know behind the scenes that was said, but I know that I've had some dealings with them and other people have too. And it's just not positive. So,
well, if you want your race series to grow, it's the solution isn't like I'm going to start my own channel with no followers and let the people that are interested in my type of racing find my channel and then boom, I'm going to blow up. No, that's not how it works. You've got to figure out, how can I get my race series in front of a larger audience of people who aren't following it, who don't seek it out and find it. I mean, that's a big thing. So it's like, if you just like, I have a race series, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Okay, well, people who are looking for your type of ATV racing will find it. Those who aren't won't, and you won't grow. So, I'd be reaching out and trying to get my race series in front of a bigger audience that isn't necessarily looking for it. And then that's how you're going to grow it. If you're just gonna create a channel that's gonna play to the people that already know about you, you're not gonna grow.
We were having a pre-conversation about Paula, my daughter, and she has Amber. It's a digital marketing and consulting company, and you have to. This is one of the things you just brought up. One of the things that she says to me, that you have to reach out to the viewer as if they weren't a follower of the ATV world or whatever it is that you're doing. So they don't follow ATV motocross. So why should they listen to this video? So you have to have enough information to explain it to them, to get them into your show and get them talking to you, because they're not an enthusiast. And that's what you're trying to do, is get people from all walks of life to participate in whatever you're doing. And in the chat, I'm going to answer Mark's deal. Yes, they dropped 20 riders in the Dakar, and then they just announced a few days ago they dropped all ATVs from the Dakar series. So that answers that question, and we can finish our discussion. Sorry about that, Joe.
No. Keep the chat coming.
Mr. Beans never did tell us why it was Toyota's fault. So we'll have to.
We'll just keep blaming Toyota until we find out why.
Exactly what works for me. I'm not a real Toyota fan anyway, so. But that's neither here nor there. We got off track a little bit. We were getting into a really good discussion about media and promoting. One of the things that I had a conversation with Jeffrey Hinson from Dirt Wheels is that the paperback magazines are making a comeback.
Well, that's good. As a fan of print, media, that's good to know. I know that there's, although obviously I create videos and all this and that and the other, it's neat to be able to go get a magazine. It's like you can pick it up, you can smell it, you can touch it. It's it lives really well on the back of your toilet. Hanging on the wall in a magazine rack, depending upon where you're at.
But it takes something special to get into a magazine. no offense to us, it doesn't take anything to make a video. You need a camera, you need a phone, and a topic. With a magazine, to get in the magazine, you have to be legit. And the magazine guys have been doing it long enough. They get it. They know who's legit. They know who's not. They do some fan base stuff. You ever listened to or ever read Motor Trend?
Uh, watch their TV show.
Yeah, well, they have paperback. It's coming back. They're going away from the digital and going back to a paperback magazine.
It's nice to be able to have it and hold it. It's tangible. It's something that you have. I I'm glad to hear it's coming back. I don't know exactly what the reason is for it. It might be a credibility thing, and it might just be, I think one thing that's probably driving it, now that we're rolling and thinking about it, is people spend so much time staring at their phone, staring at a screen. The light from it, just flipping through stuff. It's paper magazine gives you a reason to put the phone down and look at something else besides just a screen, a monitor. Um,
That's the whole theory behind it, right there. People are sick and tired of being like this all the time, and they want to experience laying the magazine out or holding it in their hand. And you have people that read hardback books the same way, because it's a different feel. It's just totally different. So
and
go
pictures,
ahead. I interrupted you. I apologize.
no, you didn't interrupt me. Pictures look better in print. That's just my opinion. But there's something about looking at pictures on a paper page. It's not fatiguing on your eyes. It's a media format I still enjoy.
I still relish them, and I have many copies of different versions of Dirt Wheels and a few other publications. And yeah, my youngest looks at me like I'm crazy, because she still doesn't understand the allure of having a paperback magazine, but she's a book collector.
If I'm gonna, and that's one thing that I think they each have their place, for like what we're doing, just having a conversation. Obviously, for a free open dialogue conversation, a magazine's not going to be the way. If you want to watch a video, obviously you're not going to get that in a print magazine. But as far as reading stories, I think it's a far better format. I can't tell you how many thousands of Dirt Wheels articles, motocross action, um, power sports publication name here. I've read a lot of articles in print magazines. When it comes to online, reading online is one of the last things I want to do. It's like, all right, has anybody got a video on this on YouTube? Oh crap, I got to go to a website and read about this. I'll do it, but I don't enjoy it. It's not nearly as enjoyable of a format for reading written word as a print magazine is.
Right. I still enjoy the sitting down and reading the magazine in the short amount of time that I have. My dad was a big hot rod magazine guy when he was younger. There was no technical manuals that you could go to back in the 50s and 60s, but Hot Rod magazine would come out with all of these great articles on the how to modify your car. And my dad would get the magazines, and we have a room in the shop full of magazines and manuals. And when I say full, I mean full. I don't even think we could count them, in the hundreds of thousands and maybe more,
I still have every Dirt Wheels
of all these magazines
magazine.
dating back as far as we can go.
Yeah, I have every dirt wheels I ever bought. I keep them in a couple of huge totes in the basement. They weigh, I think, 300 pounds a piece. Moving them to my house was a nightmare. Thank God I have friends. But
You do?
yeah, a couple. They I don't know if they claimed me, I claimed them, but it may not be mutual.
I'm your friend, Joe.
Print magazines are great for certain things. I think there's other things that they don't do as well. I think when it comes to how to's and things like that, that's just things that work better, in my opinion, in a video format where you can see the step by step process. But, the print mags definitely still have their place. And, a lot of publications like Motocross Action is a great example. They give you a lot of good detail in their videos. I enjoy them a lot, but they don't nerd out in the video the way that I'm accustomed to them doing it in the print magazine, where they're talking about numbers and travel and head angles and rake and trail and all these other things that affect the way a machine performs. Um, so for a long format, unless you're a masochist like me and you just like to make 20-minute videos that take a week to make, um, print is definitely a more palatable format for getting lots of information out, especially when it's more like you're just trying to relay the information and you're not trying to show it.
Right. I agree. I don't think that
Show it in action.
I don't quick short videos on showing you how to do things are great, but long form, I want a manual, when you're really getting in depth. So I used to be I used to be anti the YouTube video person to go watch how to do something, and then I started needing to do maintenance on my wife's cars, and like fixing the window mirror that got tore off and things like that. Yeah, you have to go to a video to figure out how to get the door panel apart, and it's not that hard. You just need a little assistance showing you. um, but I don't think that you know building engines on a YouTube channel or doing certain things like that is technically showing somebody every detail, certain portions of how to port cylinders and things like that. I don't think that should be on there. It's a specialty item that takes a lot of years to learn. Go ahead.
Right. And that's now you're digging into a different problem. I was having a discussion at the Yamaha 20th anniversary YFZ celebration. I was talking to a guy about a particular brand of chassis part for an ATV, and guy was telling me, he's like, yeah, those brand X arms, they're really, there's nothing wrong with them. And I'm like, really? You don't think so? You don't think that an A-arm company claiming that you can use your stock shock not revalved or resprung on a long travel A-arm that obviously is longer, so it has more leverage over the shock. So we were talking Raptor 700. Raptor 700 is a plush bike out of the box. Like, if you start heading to the motocross track with it, you will quickly max out your, high speed compression and, trying to fight bottoming resistance. So you've got manufacturers like, oh yeah, you can use, I don't care, I'll throw them under the bus. I've watched YouTube people reviewing like Alba A arms, and Alba has a long travel arm. And I watched this guy review it, and there's like a little bracket that goes on the bottom of the arm. So if you have a standard travel shock that won't reach that eye to eye length, where you just bolt this little bracket in here, and now all of a sudden it'll reach and it'll be at the right length. So you don't have to upgrade your shocks when you upgrade your A arms. And then I'm watching this guy review these A arms with his stock shocks, and he's going, oh, it really worked good. And I'm like, no, dude, you just landed from like a foot.
We lost your audio.
I apologize. But this guy's landing off of a jump, and he's darn near bottoming out from 1.5 feet of air. And it's like, no, if you're pounding whoops on a motocross track, you're going over the bars. If you flat land from 10 feet in the air, you're going to bottom the crap out of that thing. So to me, when it comes to talking like manuals versus YouTube or print magazine versus YouTube, the problem with YouTube is what was good about the print magazines was you had to have some level of credibility. You had to have some level of education. You had senior editors breathing over your shoulder that are, looking over your shoulder, breathing down your neck, that are like, no, that's not true. That's inaccurate, correcting you, steering you straight. I was fortunate that I was very detail minded when I got into the industry 20 years ago. I had done a lot of research and study as to what parts work, what parts don't. I had built race quads. And then as soon as I got into the industry, I'm dealing with, racers at the ATV Nationals, mechanics at the ATV Nationals, aftermarket companies, credible. Like if I got questions, I'm calling I'm calling a chassis part guy. I'm calling a shock tuner. I'm calling Wayne at PEP and asking him questions because, he's an OG. He's like a god of suspension in the ATV industry. I'm calling high level tuners. I'm calling Duncan. I'm calling CT. I'm calling people that know. But the problem with modern YouTube is back to the Raptor video. You have this guy who bolts these long travel A-arms onto stock Raptor shocks, which are too soft for the motocross track if you're going to go really big in stock form with the stock A-arms. And he's putting these A-arms on shocks that are valved and sprung for the trail with, say, 180, 190 pound rider. And he's like, oh, this works great. And now I'm just going to speak freely. Now, all the little know-nothings that are just hanging off this guy's words because they don't want to spend the money that it really takes to set their bike up correctly are all like, oh, yeah, sweet. I can go get these A-arms for $500 and I don't have to do jack to my suspension because this guy says so. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So the influencer I'm discussing this with at Yamaha is like, well, it's maybe okay for some people. I told him, no, it's not. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's leading consumers down the wrong path to wrecking and, potentially getting injured, wrecking their equipment. And that's the problem with social media. That's the problem with YouTube, is that there's too many people out there that don't know what they're talking about, don't research what they're talking about, and then they just post it like they know what they're talking about. And somebody else who doesn't know as much as that, know nothing, watches it and they're like, oh, it's credible. I'm buying in. So that's the biggest problem is the misinformation.
So let me add to that, which that makes it 10 times harder for the guys that really do this for a living, the companies that are real, that really know, that understand why you have to change your shocks to, when you run a long travel A-arm, or why you have to run certain tuning when you increase your compression, or why you have to do these things. And I'm going to switch gears at the same time. Your YouTube guys are killing it for us, and so are your forum people, because most of the reason why they do that is because they're too cheap. And yes, I said it, too cheap to do it the right way. There's a right way and a wrong way. There's probably 5 to 10 companies that do it the right way, and then there's 50 that are doing it wrong.
We did a video, and people are always looking to hear this person, an expert, tell them what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. They don't have the money. They don't want to spend the money. Well, if they can find somebody to support their idea of doing it the wrong way and be like, yeah, man, you can do that, that's just fine, then they're just happy to do it and deal with the consequences. It's building an ATV, modifying an ATV, maintaining an ATV is not simple. It's not just like you can do whatever. There's a right way there's different ways of doing different things, but there's right ways and wrong ways. It's like if you can't afford to get your shocks revalved and resprung, if you're going to buy aftermarket A-arms, don't buy them. It's not going to make your bike better. It's like, yeah, my bike's more stable. Is it? How much body roll did you pick up because your front shocks are too soft? Or how close are you going to get to breaking your frame because you're bottoming out all the time now? Where it's like, I'd break those kids' hearts and just tell them, like, look, if you want to do it right and you want to widen out your four-wheeler, stuff an axle in the back of it, leave the front narrower, save up your money when you can afford to buy A-arms and get your shocks redone or buy aftermarket shocks, make that move. Putting A-arms on stock shocks, no good. So I think that it's a challenge today for people to find the right information, good information that they can take to the bank. Whereas back in the print era, that was a little bit it was a little bit easier to buy into. People gave magazines all this grief about, you're only saying this because they're your advertiser. Most of the stuff I've read in print magazines through the years has been accurate. I can't say that it's all been accurate, but I can say it's been pretty good. I've seen a lot of bad information on YouTube. I live in YouTube. That's where I'm at. And I'm not suggesting that we're the only place you're going to get credible information. We are a place you're going to get credible information. I'm not going to say we never make a mistake, because we do. And when I do make a mistake, I apologize to the viewer and I pin their comment to the top so everyone can say, like, these guys made a mistake. They're owning up to it. It is what it is. So to me, that's the biggest challenge with social media, people reviewing ATVs and parts versus print magazines. And then I guess to kind of close this down, if somebody's sitting here going, oh, well, how can I tell if somebody's credible or not online on YouTube? It's like, well, how long have they done it? And are the OEMs working with them? We test with all the OEMs. We get units from all the OEMs. We go to all the press events, or at least a majority of the press events that are relevant to our audience. And the fact that the OEMs will work with us says that we're credible. We did a video on how to widen your ATV, and we covered, wheel spacers. What's the drawbacks? Because there's drawbacks. What's the pros and cons? There's a Diamond J Customs makes a kit that bolts to your upper shock mounts and then your A-arm mounts, and it moves all their mounting points out. And we covered in that video, like, here's this method of doing it. What are the pros? What are the cons? Like, well, your suspension isn't going to change. It's still going to be just as stiff or just as soft as it was stock. You will pick up some stability because it's wider and you didn't soften your suspension. It's also unfortunately going to pick up a whole lot of bump steer, which basically bump steer, for, I know, but for people that don't, one of the reasons that they make the front ends of the ATV so narrow where the A-arms mount on good handling machines is they don't have bump steer. When you mount them farther apart, what happens is you're going through a rough corner, your tires, your wheels are doing different things. Like, one's going up, one's going down, and it will make the bike wonder and kind of fight you through the bumps. It just won't track as well. So, and that's why those widening kits, that's the drawback to them. At the end of the day, if you want to widen your bike, there's one way to do it right. So if you want it to work ideally and get the most out of, the most benefit for doing it. So yeah, I would look, but as far as who's credible, look and see who people are testing with. Don't.
But what happened to the guy that would used to call and ask questions? Now they send emails. You can't get the information in an email.
Yeah. We're fortunate, Lenny, that we're in an industry where you can pick up a phone and you can call 90% of the companies in this industry, and a human being will answer the phone. They can answer your questions. You know, when I'm trying to talk to aftermarket companies, they answer. Now, mountain bikes are a hobby for me. I like them a lot. When I try to call companies in the mountain bike industry, I cannot tell you how many of these people are just hiding from the phone. It's like, contact us. Here's an email address. It's like, look, if I want to spend my money, pick up the damn phone and take my money. Answer my questions. Act like you give a crap. Don't hide behind your email so you don't have to answer the phone, you Gen Z millennial, like, oh, I can't talk to people. It just irritates. When you don't have a phone number, I'm not spending money with you. Done. If you don't answer it, you're not getting my cash. Over. So I don't know. I hate doing business through email. I hate correspondence through email. You know, if I'm selling advertising, if I'm ordering parts, if I want to know information, I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to learn what I need to learn. If I need to follow up with an email, then I'll do it. But we're going to talk, or we're not going to do business.
Well, in the chat, MX Beans had said he was losing hope if we were buying those shock brackets. Duncan Racing never bought those shock brackets, never will. We do it correctly. You know, we're going to buy long travel shocks with long travel A arms. We deal with, I would say, one of the most reputable companies in the industry. And I'm just never going to do spacers and things like that. And Joe was just explaining it in his videos, the pros and cons to doing it to help the industry. And I don't think Joe would ever do it that way either, because I know Joe, been around him a long time, and he wants to do it right as well.
You know, and for MX Beans, let me touch on it. Like, in the whole gamut of where you could use those widening kits, and I'm not trying to pick on those guys. They don't have a phone number, though. I'll tell you that. They don't have a phone number. You can't call them. I've tried to call Diamond J and ask them questions. Maybe somebody else can find it. I couldn't find their phone number. Guess what, guys? If I wanted it, I wouldn't buy it because I can't talk to you. Learn how to pick up a phone. But, you know, if I had a kid that had a 50 or a 90 and he was just riding it around the yard and I wanted to make it a little more stable. We're not talking racing. We're not competition. You know, we're just talking little kid's bike in the yard, more cornering stability. It's probably a better option than wheel spacers that are going to make that bike incredibly hard to steer and greatly increase every little bump feedback to the bars that you get. Me personally, any adult size ATV, any ATV that's going to be ridden hard, jumped, no. If you're going to widen it, you're going to buy A-arms, you're going to get your shocks redone, or you're doing it wrong. End of the day. End of the story. I've never seen any race team or a reputable shop that builds race bikes. You know,
there's no companies that are professional that would put spacers on your machine. It's just not done in the professional world. And there may be companies out there that say they're professionals that sell you these products. They're usually online. They're usually a fly-by-night company. So steer away from them. You go to the people that know, go to the reputable people that are out there. And I'm going to choke on saying this. Solely Joe's going to laugh at me. You know, call Duncan, call CT, call Sparks, call Baldwin, you know, call these people, B&R, call them. They will help you. They will talk to you. And there was a plug for people that are so-called my competitors that, you know, aren't competitors because we're all so busy that we can't keep up. And we're not competing against one another. We're competing against ourselves because we have to get out of bed 7 days a week and go work. So that being said,
and I'll throw another one in. You don't want to be self. Those companies that take your calls and answer your questions and give you advice, buy your parts from them.
Yeah, because most of the people that call and get a lot of tech from myself on the tech line, I would say 25% of them, maybe 35% of them call, pick my brain, and go buy it somewhere else online cheaper. And when they call back for assistance with that specific part, I don't help them. I know that sounds bad, but I'm sorry. If you're not my customer, I do not have to give you free tech. And I give a lot of free upfront tech so that when they do go to buy, or maybe I have a customer that's in a different state that can't come and see me and they have to go get work done. I say, okay, these are the questions you need to ask that specific mechanic before you let them touch your stuff. If they can't answer the question, don't let them work on your bike. Don't let them work on your engine, because they've just proven to you that they don't know, and they're going to give you the runaround. But that's not what my next topic I wanted to bring up to talk about. We talk about ATVs. We've talked about Dakar. We've talked about professionalism. Everybody, you need to go out and promote Dirt Wheels. You need to subscribe, help them out, because they are truly the ones helping the industry and helping the industry stay alive. ATV On Demand, you can subscribe to them. UTV On Demand. You could even help Joe out by subscribing to his. No, we're not at the end of the show. This is just a portion of something I want to talk about. You need to subscribe to ATV-TALK YouTube channel and follow us on everywhere you can for our audio stuff. Instagram as well. We do an Instagram show every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's called Bench Prep Conversations. Tuesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Every Tuesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we drop our audio podcast. It's going to be Joe Bird talking about the Legends race on Tuesday. And Joe and I have an interesting conversation about what it's like to be retired with gaining weight and not riding as much, and, understanding that the Legends race isn't really a race. Like all you want to think that it is. It's a gathering of these legends that are going to go out and ride. And yeah, a few of them are going to go fast. They're going to give trophies to the top three. And but most of the guys that are on the track, think about it this way. Doug Eichner's going to be there. He's 59 years old. Wimmer is 37. There's no comparison in these two individuals. And they rode a lot of different disciplines. Shane Hitt is probably a phenom because he's still in shape. He still freaking weighs probably 150 pounds and he still rides. He's going to go out there and do great because that's just Shane. It's just his body makeup. Corey Ellis still rides, great rider, in good shape, but still, he's in his 40s. So think about that when you go to the Legends race, and make sure that you guys do subscribe to anybody that is helping use these machines, and the companies that are supporting us online, like Joe's show, that his videos that he puts out. If you support us, we can bring you more good content. Dirt Wheels Magazine, dude, they're killing it. They're going to have some great stuff coming out here. It's just, we just got to do these things. Joe, there's another topic that you and I didn't get to talk about that I want to talk about. I touched on it briefly. And it's ethics in racing. Jet Lawrence and Bam Bam, Justin Barcia, had a incident on the track in the last Supercross. And, there's a lot of speculation on, was it clean riding? Was it Jet's fault for turning in too early? Me personally, I think that, Barcia is bouncing off everything but the barriers to get around the course. But I'm not a fan. But Jet Lawrence was trying to make ground to move forward, and he thought that was a good line, and he was in front of Barcia, and Barcia should have, he did, in my opinion. But they don't penalize for blatant takeouts like that. I mean, I don't follow the rules enough to know. I just wanted your take on that.
I didn't. I didn't see the incident. I don't know if I was in the kitchen or whatever. Um, I don't remember why I heard of it. Oh, that's right. I was out. I remember what happened. I was off filming Cody Collier that weekend. That was at the Triple Crown, right? Yes, that was last weekend at the Triple Crown.
It was a triple crown. Eli Tomac won it. So hooray for Eli. But it changed the championship layout because of I believe something happened to Jet's bike. I have been scouring the news deals and I can't find what happened and why he drifted back. Maybe there's something
It's
missed.
rumored that he might have got an injury or got at least hurt at some point, maybe during that crash. But
Yep.
Barsha originally had a reputation for being a little aggressive, maybe a little dirty. But I haven't heard about that in so long. I mean, I haven't seen stories of Barsha taking out people or being overly aggressive. So it's racing. Incidents are going to happen. Two different minds, two different lines. They sometimes intersect. So, I'm not necessarily going to sit here and say it was dirty. I can't be in his mind. And again, he hasn't been doing it a lot lately. So, seems like that's not really his, the way he's been operating so much. And he's not in the points hunt. For him to intentionally try to take out the points leader seems unlikely. Probably just a stupid mistake on one of their parts. I'm not going to lay blame because again, I didn't actually see the crash. So block pass. I don't have a problem. When it comes to racing and this and that and the other, it's like when you're racing Supercross, block passes are what gets it done. I don't think you should try to take somebody's front wheel out. But taking somebody the berm and making them shut down and squaring it off and taking the spot away, that's how you're going to make passes on 180-degree turns.
Yeah, but that's not what this was. So the one guy online that I saw described it. So you have one line where you just rail the berm on the outside. You have
Right.
another line where you come into the turn onto the inside. So we're going to turn left, let's say, and you knife all the way to the opposite side of the berm and pivot, and then come straight off of it, straight down the line that that you're heading for. And then what Jet did is he, instead of coming into the turn, he came into the turn on the outside, pivoted early, and then was cutting across to head down the next straightaway from the inside of the barrier down. And Barsha came into the inside of the turn and was on the very inside, and Jet was coming across that line instead of pushing it out farther.
Yeah.
And maybe Barsha didn't see him. That could have been an excuse as well.
Maybe he just didn't see him. It's impossible to say for sure, especially I think it's people are quick to condemn somebody who's known to be an aggressive rider and willing to make contact, but there's so many variables, and I don't think he's really been pushing that so much lately. I would like to say I believe it was incidental more than intentional. Um, but it made the season more interesting because Jet's not running away with it anymore. So we still have a championship race. I'm sorry if he got hurt. I hope he's fine.
I'm hoping he's fine too. We're going to get into two more topics before we end here today. One is just a little take on financials. MotoGP, because we are a motorsports podcast, guys. That's why I bring up all these other different topics. MotoGP canceled a race in Argentina because the government of Argentina wouldn't pay for their multi-million-dollar series to come and race in their country. Why an organization that makes that much money, draws that many fans, would need Argentina to foot the bill, which they say they're a third world country. And the new president said, you know what, piss on you guys. I'm not going to pay you to come here. If you want to come, come. But, bring revenue to my country. Don't take revenue from it. And I kind of agree with him. Why are we paying race series to go places? Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I love the president of Argentina. He's the guy that has the whiteboard. If people don't know, he's like, oh shoot. Lenny, do you recall his name?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I've heard it like a dozen times or more. And I've loved all the political shows I've watched on the guy because the conservative shows love the guy because he just freaking tears it up and doesn't put
every woke program in that country, from environmental stuff to women's special interest rights and like diversity, he's just like done. He's cutting all the programs. He's not spending money on crap. Hey, leftoids, if you think Trump's bad, this guy's a savage. And hopefully after Trump, our next president is even more like him, unless he does something stupid and illegal. But the way it's looking, like that dude's not playing, and his country won't stay poor, I would predict, if he keeps running it the way he's running it. So, yeah, I'm a fan of that dude. He looks like he's right out of a 70s movie with his sideburns and his haircut. It's just, that dude's, shoot, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's an absolute hoot. I enjoy that guy a lot. I'll take him as, if he was born here, I would gladly take him as maybe our next president, after our next president. So,
same thing. Why did freaking Dakar leave South America? Because the South American countries said, we're not going to pay you guys to do this anymore. You guys need to freaking bring money to us, not from us. And that's, they're over in another country now because that country is rich, or the sheiks are rich and they wanted to have the race there. So great, have the race there. But that's just a sidebar. That's just something I thought was fun to talk about. Now let's get down to the brass tacks of ATV motocross racing. Man, round 2, the first outdoor was yesterday. Wow. We talked about dominance in a sport and a dominant rider in GNCC last time, but let's talk about his teammate in ATV MX, Joel Hetrick. Clearly, this guy is on another level than any other ATV rider on the planet. And he went out and destroyed the competition in both motos by winning by plus 17 seconds in the first moto. And I didn't see the exact tally of the second moto, but like on lap 11, he had a 14-second, almost 15-second lead. So everybody from second back needs to step their game up because this guy is for real and is killing it. He's also probably hurting the enthusiasm in the sport just a little bit because not everybody wants to watch a runaway. What's your thoughts, Joe?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try to tread lightly. I normally don't, but I'm gonna try to. I like Joel Hetrick. I have zero issue with Joel Hetrick. If Joel Hetrick took a season off, racing would probably be more interesting because you'd have people racing for the lead. I always have kind of felt like through the years, and opinions change some from time to time. I always kind of felt like if you're playing baseball or let's say you're playing high school football, if you can beat the opposing team in the championship game by like 80-0, blow them out. Who cares? Crush them. Score every time, deny them the opportunity. And that's been the way I've always kind of viewed it. As a McGrath fan in the 90s, when he was just gapping everybody every race, yeah, I was a McGrath fan. It was easy to cheer for. But that's a sport that's a lot bigger, and people are going to watch it because they already watch it. There's so many dirt bike enthusiasts. But then you start to look at you look at Supercross now. It's way tighter. It's way more competitive. You got a half dozen guys that can win. From an enthusiast perspective, is it more fun to watch the racing now? I think it is. Joel Hetrick going out there and just blowing the doors off everybody. I don't think it makes for a good show. And I learned. I'm not a racer. I've raced, but I have raced, and I talk to racers. And one thing that I hear a lot of guys talk about is how Jet Lawrence can pull 5/8 seconds on you when he has the lead, and then he doesn't just keep gapping you. He pulls all the lead he needs to safely have a cushion, and then he backs it down and maintains that same gap. And I don't know. I think when you're gapping the class by 15 seconds, it's sort of a little disheartening for your competitors. Kind of makes it boring for the enthusiasts who are watching or somebody who might be just getting into it. I'm not saying anybody should slow down intentionally, but maybe people should slow down a little bit intentionally. Just so the people behind them can feel like they got something to reach for. Because if you can't even see the guy in first place, you're not going to keep pushing hard. You're going to back down. Once it's like, I'm settling for second. Why try?
His drive to train that hard and to be that fast has got to be incredible, because he's riding against no slouches, and he is just freaking on fire.
It's drive, it's determination, it's natural God-given ability, which you can make up for that, but you're going to work twice as hard. There's the fact that the kid's been a prodigy since he was in the minis. His dad is Rich Hetrick, who builds race quads and has for decades. So, his dad was a race quad builder. That's a huge leg up between, that and, you're another racer in the pro class, and you've got your mechanic and you've got your program, but it's a little different than having a guy who's really dialed being your dad that knows all about building race bikes. So he's had every advantage that I know of. And there's probably stuff I don't know about where people would be like, you have no idea what that poor kid's been through. But it seems like, looking at it from a distance, he's had every advantage to put him in the position he's in. Yeah, he's still working his ass off for it. And I respect it. But I think it's a little hard for me to get excited about, okay, Patrick's going to run away with every race and sweep the title again this year. Okay, well, I'll check back in 25.
Well, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, that he sweeps it, but not because I don't want Joel to have success, but because I want somebody else to get in there and be on the podium, or be on top of the podium. A question in the chat, and maybe you can help answer this, Joe, is where do you watch ATV motocross and GNCC? Racer TV is the only place that does the GNCC, right?
Right. And I think, I don't remember what channel is the motocross on now. I mean, the motocross races come out, from what I understand, months after the races have happened. It's not like it happens. It's not like there's a race this weekend, today, and you're going to be able to watch it next week on television or today online live. motocross is just kind of being ignored. You can watch it on TV. Go to the ATV Motocross Nationals website, and I'm sure they probably have a TV schedule there. I had reached out, I reached out to a videographer, and I hope you're listening because I'm going to put you on blast. I reached out to a videographer at the ATV Nationals, not Rip It Up Films, not Gloop. And I was just like, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I'm kind of interested in maybe getting some of this race footage on our site, because there's not a big TV deal. There's nothing coming out right after the races that shows it. I used to, in the early days, I did, traveled the circuit with ATV Scene with John Pellin, and we made highlight videos that came out the next week. And so there was something there. I reached out to a guy at the ATV Nationals, like, hey, call me up. Let's try to set something up for getting some coverage from the Nationals. Wouldn't make a phone call. Didn't call me. The ATV Nationals, and I would have helped him try to find sponsorship for it and offered him, hey, here's my 80,000 subscribers. Do some highlight videos, sell some ads into it. Keep a big bulk of the money, by all means. I just want to platform racing and getting out there. No call, no big deal. Didn't care, Logan. So, I don't know where you can watch it. I wish I could. I wish I could see it. I enjoyed it. I'd love to watch it. I don't know why.
I get it. We got a big weekend next weekend with GNCC and Works going off racing. There'll be a MotoGP race. There's an F1 race this morning, if it's not already over. Racing's happening all over the world in all different motorsports. And that's, I bring up these other motorsports deals, not to take away from the ATVs that I love, but to enhance us, and to let everybody know that there's more things going on. And we are a motorsports podcast. We're trying to develop all of it at one time and bring news into all of it. So my ATV followers, please don't get mad at me because I talk about all this other stuff. Embrace it, enjoy it, and follow it.
Run past you. Have you seen anything from this page on Facebook that's like ATV Supercross Tour 2026? Have you looked into that at all?
I haven't seen anything on it. You are the only one to tell me about it.
Yeah, I need to check back in with that page because I followed it. It would certainly be exciting to see it happen. I don't think you're not gonna see us on a Saturday night with the pros on bikes. That's not gonna happen. There's been some speculation, and maybe the answer is right there on their page. Everybody who's watching, go to Facebook, look up ATV Supercross Tour 2026, give them a follow. Let's see if it's hopium or if it's going to be something. I talked to a friend on the West Coast about it, and his sister works for Felt. And, he just, without discussing it with her, just speculated with me, like maybe they're going to do it on amateur days at the end of the year, because after they do the Supercross season, they do the outdoors, and then they do the Super Motocross finals, like 3 or 4 races at the end of the year. There was some rumor about amateur days at those, and maybe ATVs being a part of it. Strictly rumor. I don't know. If we're going to grow, we need to get on TV. We need to get on TV in a format that's palatable, that's exciting. So hopefully something comes of that.
Well, we also need to go back into a new true national title where we bring all 4 to 6 disciplines together at one time and form a series to where we do 2 or 3 events of each of these across the country, like they did back in the 60s. You remember the frickin' On Any Sunday, the greatest movie of all time, that showed them racing flat track, short track, road racing, TT, and that's how they formed a national number 1. Well, let's race motocross, a couple of motos, or a couple events. Let's do GNCC, a couple events. Let's do some off-road. Let's do some desert. Let's do some TT, and bring it all into a single national title. there was a racetrack that you were telling me about in Oklahoma. I think that's where you were telling me it was. That could facilitate for some of these events.
It might have been Vegas. 'Cause I was talking to a friend who lives out in Vegas about it. I think the only problem with that is, like we were talking last night, why is cross country so big and motocross isn't? And, mentioning it, a lot of it probably being the expense of it. So, if we did a series like what you're talking about, it's like you're going to have a motocross setup, wood setup, TT setup. You're going to have to be able to build 5 race bikes or convert your bike into 5 different race bikes. The idea, and we were just spitballing, the idea, me and my buddy Nick Lalani lives out west. He's trying to get a little, not playing it down. He's trying to get a startup series going on the West Coast for short track racing, circle track. Maybe at some point it kind of grows into a little bit of a West Coast TT series. But, we were just talking how fun it would be to do like a big 3-day event where it's like, you're going to race motocross, you're going to race TT, you're going to do a cross country race, and the person who does the best in all disciplines overall is the overall ATV ATV world champion. Give him a wrestling belt. Who knows? But our little brainstorm for that, just talking, nothing's going to come of it probably with us, but was like, you've got to run the same bike. You cannot rebuild that bike. You cannot change out all the parts. Maybe you let them change out tires, maybe. But other than that, motocross, TT, cross country, same motor.
Let's talk to Yamaha and see if we could get them to do it in a, invitational weekend and run a 450 class and a 700 class stalkers. They all have numbers on them, and you draw for the bike that you want to ride or that you're going to get to ride, and if you need to put a twist throttle on them, for the twist throttle guys, they have the ability to do this. They all have the same Nerf bars, the same tires, kill switches, and here they are. And they go out and race these races, and the baddest of the baddest wins. That would be just phenomenal.
That would be interesting, especially if you're like, we're gonna take the top 3 guys from GNCC. We're gonna take the top 3 guys from motocross. We're gonna take the top 3 guys from motocross, TT, cross country. Maybe you do top 3 guys from works.
You got GNCC, you got GNC or the ATV motocross, you got works, and you got the TT guys. The desert guys, I guess we could, we could get 5 series, that's 15 riders. Throw them out there. The guy that wins is the guy that gets it. I think it would be outstanding.
And that would be cool. And what's neat about it is and this is such a pipe dream conversation, but if you did it, what would really be cool about it is you do it all in a weekend. It's all filmed or broadcast live. That's something you can do more for television, something more for streaming. It would be cool. It would be very cool.
Yeah, because you could do the TT races at night where the bikes are going to look so cool, and you could even do your motocross at night too, under the lights. So your race, we would have to really, really get into it, because the competitors would, for 3 days of racing would be getting worked. The guys in the best shape would be doing the best. Your Bryson Neals, your Walker Fowlers, your Janusas, and your Hogue, with Hetrick, these guys that are in just phenomenal shape would probably be doing really, really well. Travis Damon from the Work Series, Gross, these guys are beasts. So they would fall into a a 6-race program and just be like, okay, I'm good, bring it on. And that would be just so awesome to see. I think anyways, but
I think it'd be pretty entertaining. I think it'd be very entertaining, and what a chess game it would be, because you're going to have, obviously if you're a TT guy, you're going to do good at that. Are you going to do good at the motocross? It's going to be doing their best at the segment they're in, but then who can rise up in those other segments that they don't normally participate in and have a good enough showing to get enough points to win the overall. It could be some drama. It could make for some good racing and interest.
I agree. I think it'd be freaking fantastic, but we'll see how things work. Maybe you and I have just started something here and sparked an idea, and we may not get any credit for it, but it'd still be awesome to cover and see.
I'd be happy to watch it.
Right on. I'd be happy to participate. I could be there. All right, brother. Thank you always for coming on and spending time with me on a Sunday morning talking about motorsports, ATVs. Remember, everybody, subscribe to ATV On Demand, UTV On Demand, and I think he does mountain bikes as well. You can subscribe to ATV-TALK, the YouTube, and listen to our audio podcast. Remember, that's Tuesdays, 5:00 Pacific Standard Time. This Tuesday, it's going to be Joe Bird, so check that out. We're going to be talking legends, the bench prep conversation on Wednesday. I haven't figured out who the guest is going to be yet, but they're always entertaining. We had Legacy on, and Brett Greenhaltz from the Legacy Series, who was the champion last year. That was a great conversation. So if you can on Instagram, go back and check that out as well. Joe, you got anything for closing?
If it's dry, go.
If it's dry, go ride. And if you like to ride in the mud, go ride in the mud.
Oof. I just don't like to wash the bikes. I like to ride in the mud, but it's the whole after event that kind of like, ugh. Yeah.
You guys all do that. I'm going to stay in the dry, and we'll be riding when it's clear and nice. So have an amazing Sunday, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Thanks a lot, Joe. We'll see you later, brother.
Have a great weekend, everybody. See ya.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.